Hey fellow gamers, Chatty Sisa here. Long before there was Baldur's Gate 3, there was another great RPG game which was turn-based from Larian Studios, Divinity Original Sin. 10 years ago to be precise, and it was first time released at the end of June 2014 and later with the enhanced edition including some additional content in 2015. And I'm talking here about the first one, which was a little bit overshadowed later by its successor, Divinity Original Sin number 2. But let's have a look together and why I think that this is even today still a great RPG game to play, and if you have played Baldur's Gate 3 and you are looking for a similar game from the same studio, this game might be worth your time. Just a small warning before we start, this review will contain spoilers. Larian's first crowdfunded success, Divinity Original Sin, was a turn-based RPG game and the winner of over 150 awards and nominations. The studios started as a small company in Belgium in 1996 and, as mentioned before, created this game through Kickstarter crowdfunding, which was back then a bold move that, in hindsight, definitely paid off. Comparing the original game and the enhanced edition, the most important changes were that the enhanced edition improved and balanced out the combat, added multiple new side quests, armors and weapons, fixed some bugs, added more voiceovers and some new gameplay, features like dual wielding or full controller support, for example, and many other improvements and positive changes. In general, the enhanced edition provides the player with a better experience overall and is a wonderful classic turn-based RPG game. The story of the game is a bit hard to summarize in a review without too many major spoilers due to the complex connections between all the characters and events. But here's a quick recap of the most important key elements. Even though you start the game with a relatively simple task, to investigate the murder of the councillor from the town called Sisa, over time you uncover more and more dark secrets within the city, as well as a long-forgotten part of the main protagonist's very important own history, which will play a big role during the final stages of the game. And yes, it's main protagonists in plural, as there are 2 source hunters you are able to create and control within the game. The source hunters are essentially various types of warriors in the world of Rivellon who are seeking out magic wielders that use a dark and dangerous kind of magic, the source. The source can be understood as a subset of magic, which wasn't always corrupt and evil, but it turned into one, basically becoming blood magic. The source hunters were created to fight it and to fight the source users, or otherwise known as sorcerers, who have become quite rare, yet all the more dangerous. Aside from investigating the councillor's murder and finding out a connection to the source, as the hunters have suspected, they will be confronted by the Immaculates, a religious cult led by the mysterious Conduit. They are connected to the murder, but also, more importantly, they're worshipping the Void Dragon, which is a mysterious and dangerous entity devouring the time itself, and, if not stopped, of course destroying this way also the whole world of Rivellon. So the importance of the 2 main characters grows steadily as the game progresses. Our source hunters have to find a way how to defeat the Void Dragon and save Rivellon. They'll have to use so-called star stones to do that, which they will have to collect and also deal along the way with the Conduit, who is hell-bent on helping the Void Dragon reaching its goal. As easy and simple as this sounds, you can be assured it is not. Gathering all the stones and getting to that Void Dragon is a task that will require both the player's best combat skills as well as a good portion of tactical thinking and problem solving. While following the main story, you'll find plenty of side tasks involving orcs, goblins, imps, and many undead, with whom you have to deal with, one way or the other. Also, each of your companions will have a personal request towards you during the game, a loyalty mission, and you can in fact fail those even if you start the quests. That means losing the companion completely and not being able to hire him or her back again. You are not alone in the investigation of the murder case and in preparing to fight your enemies. There are friendly faces helping you out along the way, aside from your companions, but more on those in the next segment. There is no predefined main character. You have, for the two leading protagonists, a wide variety of choices in the Character Creator menu at the start of the game. A vast amount of possible combinations between appearance, classes, skills, talents, abilities, and attributes. Although you can only play as a human and all the non-human races within the game are non-playable characters. The total number of players in your party is 4, so you'll have the option to take 2 additional companions with your 2 main characters to each of the quests. The additional companions come along from all classes, but each with a different set of skills and abilities, so keep in mind what options you have and whom you would prefer to take with you. Ideally, choose companions with abilities, traits, and attributes which complement your own skills, and try to gather various fighting styles within your party to have balanced fights with your opponents. A wizard, a warrior, a rogue, and an archer are a good combo for almost any fight. I'd suggest to have at least one of your main characters with the Pet Pal talent, as he or she will have then the ability to talk to animals, which definitely gives you an advantage in this game. The animals provide you with additional information in your quests or even help you out in your investigation. So if you don't have this talent, you will miss out on small parts of the game which aren't accessible without this ability. Another good companion to have in your party is a character with the ability to sneak, pickpocket, and lockpick. Again, you'll have the option to pickpocket items that further help you in your investigation, or open some doors to rooms which otherwise wouldn't be accessible. And sneaking will make some of the quests much easier for you to get through. A great summary and comparison of all the skills and classes can be found online in the Fextra Live Wiki, which I'm linking below in the description. Let's have a look at some notable characters in the game aside from the 2 main ones. Madora is basically the tank in your party. She has the man-at-arms skills and is a former source hunter herself. Although no longer willing to remain one, if you talk to her and gain her trust, she will explain what happened in the past and why she gave up on being the source hunter. That story will be connected then to her loyalty mission. You can meet Madora in Sisa in the King Crab Tavern, and upon getting to know her better, you'll soon realize her huge mistrust towards all wizards and magic. Keep that in mind when you're venturing out on quests with her and a mage in the group as well. There might be some tensions between the companions then. Jahan is a wizard with a dark, mysterious past whom you'll meet in the mayor's house in Sisa. He is much older than anyone suspects and is very opposed to dark magic, just like the source hunters, although for very personal reasons. Those are also connected to his loyalty quest. He's the one who's going to oppose Medora very often in dialogues and group discussions. Jahan's starting skills are related to the air and water elements, and he's invaluable in fights due to his healing skills. Berdotr is another possible companion for you whom you can find also in Sicil. However, she will be a prisoner there close to the Legion headquarters, and her character is quite easy to miss if you don't explore the city thoroughly. Which would be a shame, as she's having good archery skills. If you think the name sounds an awful lot like a bear's daughter, then you are exactly right. Her personal backstory is in fact that she was raised by a bear in the wilderness, and she's now trying to find that one person who helped her to return to the humans, which is essentially her loyalty quest. Volgraf is the last of the companions for you whom you can interact with and who has a personal quest within the game. Careful, in order to trigger it, you will need someone in your party with the mentioned pet pal talent. He cannot speak, which is the result of a sorcerer's attack in his youth, and he communicates with the world via a magical quill that he stole from a wizard. Because he had no other means to get by than stealing, he became quite a proficient rogue, and his skills include, for example, becoming invisible for short periods of time. You will encounter within the game other important characters which will help you throughout your journey. One of them is the wizard Arhu, greeting you at the very start when arriving in Sicil. The next one will be Ikara, also known as the White Witch, who will be instrumental in dealing with the conduit. And last but not least, another important helping figure is Zigzags, an imp that writes down the entire history of everything and who is the one that tells you about the time-devouring Void Dragon. As already previously mentioned, the main antagonists in this game will be the Immaculates, who will fight you in some areas of the map every step of the way in order to protect the conduit and their secrets. The identity of the conduit will be uncovered as you're progressing within the game, and it'll also be clear then what the motives are for supporting the Void Dragon in its destruction of the time. The main enemy and the final boss of the game is the Void Dragon, a magical entity with great powers that wants to destroy the whole of Rivellon and is the reason why the source has become so corrupted and evil. That final boss fight can be extremely tricky on the higher difficulties, as you don't just have to beat the dragon with all you have, but you must also protect at the same time the goddess Astarte, who will be on the battlefield. So you'll really need to prepare for this last fight the best you can together with your companions. Take the time to set up your game at the start and you'll have a lot of fun playing for many hours. This is a turn-based game and therefore your biggest advantage in the combat will be that you have time to plan your moves and tactically position your companions throughout the battlefield, which comes in very handy with some opponents that are really hard to beat even on lower difficulties. The game comes with 4 difficulty levels, from the Explorer mode through Classic and Tactician up to the Honor mode. You can see the explanation for each one on the screen, and if you're playing the game for the first time, I would suggest to start with the Classic mode if you're experienced in turn-based RPGs, or even with the Explorer mode if you're not yet familiar with this type of games. You can switch the difficulties between Explorer and Classic also throughout the game, but careful, you can only choose Tactician or Honor mode at the start of the game and keep it then for the rest of it. If you've chosen the last 2 modes, the only option to change the difficulty is to start a new game. The game has a lot of humor in general, even though some background stories of your companions can be quite dark. It gradually introduces complexity into the storyline as well as crafting, combat, or the types of your enemies, and it's easy to understand even though all the information can be a bit overwhelming when playing for the first time. I therefore highly suggest to check out the Fextra Live wiki, which I'm linking in the description below, where you can find most of the information summarized. Don't be deterred by the big panel of text on the screen. This game is fully voiced and very well at that. So no worries, you don't have to read through all of it to know what's going on. The text rather helps you if you need more time to make an important decision or if you want to ask questions in a specific order. This game has the isometric view, or as I call it jokingly, the helicopter view. But you can zoom in very closely to change your perspective and observe more details. Although for the surroundings, the enemies, traps, and overall battle tactics, the standard isometric view is the golden key here. There are multiple locations you will be visiting, and even though this is not an open world, you'll have plenty of space on the map to explore. The most important will be the homestead, which comes later in the game, and it serves in general as the central hub for you, where you can shop, craft, or store all your items. Then there's the town of Sicil and the surrounding area, the Locula forest, Hyberheim, and the Dark Forest, or also known as the Phantom Forest. In general, the game has good fast travel options through well-positioned waypoint shrines all over each of the maps, so once you have uncovered a shrine, you can use it for the future. There is a tiny hidden trick in this game related to fast travel. After a certain point in the game, you can freely fast travel from anywhere. The emphasis here is on the from. You still have to choose an existing waypoint from your already uncovered map for the destination, but you don't have to reach one in order to initiate the fast travel. A specific icon on the right edge of the screen will initiate the fast travel from anywhere, and you can see it on the screen now. You will spend a lot of time in Sicil in the beginning. Try to level up here before going out of town, it's going to be rough out there. I suggest to test out here sneaking, pickpocketing, crafting, and all sorts of other things. I know it's the start of the game and you don't have yet enough points invested into those skills, but at least this will give you a hint on what to do later on during the game, where some of those skills will become very helpful to proceed in some of the quests. Try to uncover and explore each of the maps thoroughly. You'll find a lot of loot or additional new small side quests. A small warning here. The enemies in this game do not respawn, so once you've cleared an area, it'll remain safe and you won't get the option to fight certain types of enemies again. As for the loot and crafting, those are crucial to obtain better gear, whether it's armor or weapons. Rewards for main or side quests also yield some very nice pieces. When the game progresses, the loot becomes better and you're also able to craft more powerful items, so you should be able to use the best equipment once you'll enter any boss fights. There's a great detailed crafting guide online posted in Larian Studios official forum called Master Recipe Guide, which I'm linking in the description below. It definitely helped me a lot when I was playing on the harder difficulties, as the items you craft yourself have usually better stats than the ones you'll buy or loot. The game can be played alone as a classic single-player game, but also as a co-op game with another player, whether you're using the hot seat function or connect two devices. In such case, each of you is playing as one of the main characters. This is a great option for two friends or a couple who would like to spend some time playing a game together, and it can be a lot of fun. There are mods allowing you to include more players, so it might be worth checking out Nexus mods, for example, where you can also find many other mods to improve either the visual side, crafting, increase your XP points, and so on. Do not touch anything made of tenebrium, which is a highly toxic metal, before you acquire the ability to handle it. You'll need to invest points into this ability first. If you or one of your companions do try to wield tenebrium weapons or pick up any items that include the metal before having the necessary ability, they will die, and there is no cure for it in the game aside from using one of the star stones, which practically means destroying the stone's abilities and making it inert. And you'll definitely have to be careful with how you use the stones in the game. You can spot tenebrium weapons or other tenebrium items by their purple glow. Magic works with the classical basic elements such as earth, water, air and fire, which can of course cancel each other, so it's fun to counterattack with a different elemental skill or remove your opponent's advantage within a fight. Watch out for the terrain and the weather though. It impacts your spells, reach and so on. For example, if you're using fire-related spells, those can be quickly stopped by your opponents using the rain skill. Or if you spill a barrel of oil, everyone wandering through the oil will be significantly slowed down. If those are your enemies, you can try to ignite the oil then. It can be quite amusing and you have many options if you combine these elemental skills, so try to experiment with those. When playing on a PC, then left Alt highlights all items you can pick up in a certain radius. It comes in very handy especially after fights, when some of the items your enemies have dropped might be hidden beneath the bodies or splintered crates and so on. I highly recommend using this key combination for all the loot. This game does not have a DLC. The Enhanced Edition is all there is, but considering the overall playing time, I find the base game completely sufficient for a good experience. If you want to beat the game with just the main objectives, it will take you around 60 hours. For a completionist, it will for sure take more than 100 hours, so keep that in mind when you're starting a playthrough and intend to finish the game. There's only very little what ties the first Divinity Original Sin game with the second. Some of the protagonists from the first game are mentioned in the second, but aside from that, more than 1,200 years will pass between the games, so you really don't have to worry about making certain decisions in the game. They won't have any impact on the following game. A small self-promo here. If you like my channel and you like what I'm doing here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And if you like this review, I would be really appreciative if you could hit that like button as well, or feel free to comment. I'd be really happy about any feedback you can give me. Thank you very much already in advance. As mentioned in the beginning, Divinity Original Sin is, as of this June, already 10 years old, so don't expect today's graphics quality in it, especially when the game was primarily designed for an isometric view. But you'll be surprised how good the details are when you zoom in, and how detailed also the entire environment is. I'd recommend playing around with the zoom and finding the best camera distance for yourself to have the best visual experience. If you still want to improve this side of the game, then there's helpful graphics and texture mods available, and I'm also linking one as an example in the description below. Regarding the sound in the game, the ambient sound is great. NPC voices are fun and well done. The orchestral music changes in each location and is either light and cheery or darker and foreboding, depending on the surroundings. The whole soundtrack is essential to the overall feeling and perception of the game by the player, and if you like it, you can download it, for example, on Steam for the price of €4, which I believe should be about the same also in dollars. The composer for the game's soundtrack was the same as for all the previous games in the Divinity series. Kirill Pokrovsky, who sadly passed away on the 1st of June 2015 after finishing the soundtrack to this game. He was only 53 years old. You can until this day hear his music also in the games Divine Divinity from 2002, Beyond Divinity from 2004, and Divinity 2 from 2009, not to be mistaken with the second Divinity Original Sin game. The first quirk I have to mention are the skill books. Some are hard to get, so buy them if you have the chance and enough of the in-game currency for it. There are specialized merchants selling those in each location, and even though you do find some of the skill books as loot during the game, it's often just the basic novice skills, and you'll probably have 2 or 3 of the same books in your inventory quite soon. Whenever you find a merchant with the higher ranked skill books for the Adept and Master tiers, consider buying those even in advance when you don't have the required level yet. Some of them only appear in the merchant's inventory once or twice during the entire game, and it might be hard to get your hands on them later. You do have the opportunity later on to buy the skill books in your homestead as well from 4 elementals, but don't completely rely on them having all the books available. Unfortunately, I did encounter in one of my playthroughs a bug where I wasn't able to purchase a specific archery skill book throughout the whole game. A great feature in this game is the choice for the second main character's personality if you're playing alone and not in co-op. You can either choose personality traits from the predefined offered variants, from a compassionate romantic soul to a heartless renegade. Or, if you feel like squabbling with yourself, you can choose not to preset a personality and decide each of his or her answers during the game and technically have an argument with yourself, which is, in my opinion, way more fun. But if you don't want to bother with each such dialogue, go for the AI personalities. A good explanation on those is available online, and I'm listing a good source also in the description to help you choose. You can set them up at the start of the game and pick a specific one, or go with the simplified choice as no AI, which means you'll be talking to yourself basically, or choose random, which might give you some schizophrenic feeling from your companion over the span of the game, because you never know what answers to expect. The last self-explanatory option is then loyal, which means that all the interactions and decisions will be simply done by you through just the main first character, without any opposition or surprises, and the second character will always agree with you. Another good advice for this game is talk, talk, talk. There's a large amount of side quests which you get just by talking to the people in town and to regular NPCs that you don't get otherwise. Yes, the most important quests related to the main storyline are automatic, but you're really missing out on a lot of interesting small tasks if you don't speak to the other people or even to animals. I'd mention here in the quirks again in general that a turn-based game might not be to everyone's liking. This is an old-school RPG, and if you're not enjoying the game and the story, it might start to feel slow and tedious, especially if you're used to today's action-packed real-time RPGs. I still believe though that this game is worth it and you should definitely try it out. Make sure you pay attention to all the icons on your minimap, the main screen, dialogue panel, etc. Those often give you additional options or possibilities like the already mentioned fast travel from anywhere, or even trading with NPCs if they are not official merchants. Many people miss this, and it's not that well explained anywhere in the game menu, so the longer stay at the beginning in Sisa is a good time to test all these features. Overall, the game doesn't have many bugs, but what I have noticed on some rare occasions is that the sound sometimes just disappeared. The voices within the dialogues or the merchants hollering in the market square, they remained, but the ambient sound and the background music just completely vanished. This can be easily solved though by saving and reloading the game, and voila, the music is all back. What was a little bit annoying, and it isn't a bug per se but an in-game feature, was having to move things around in the inventory between characters. If you, for example, need to pick a lock, but the lockpicks are not in the inventory of the rogue character, but someone else, then you'll have to open the inventory screen for the other character, search for the lockpicks, and then right-click on the item to have it sent to the rogue's inventory. It is getting a bit tedious over time. The game comes with both an autosave system as well as the option to manually save the game, even via quick saves, whenever you like. But the save slots for your manual saves are limited, so keep in mind that after a while you will have to start overwriting the older saves. I would therefore recommend making a save before the more important decisions or quests and renaming the save file respectively so that you are aware of what you're overwriting later on. On a positive note, I had most fun during combat with using what I call little minions. When you use elemental magic, you can summon of course an elemental being if you learn the respective skill, which is a fire, ice, air or earth elemental. But aside from that, you can use, for example, a spider as a geomancer, or if you use the scoundrel skills, there's a small mechanical robot with a bomb on its back that can march straight into the middle of your enemies and wreak a little bit of havoc before you finish them off. There's also one side quest in the game called Headless Nick, which you can pick up in Sisa, where you need to help a zombie. If you're successful in completing this quest, Nick will be ready at your side during fights for the rest of the game whenever you summon him. In summary, the game has an interesting complex story with some surprising revelations which are fun to uncover. A multitude of options for character creation from their appearance and classes over the talents and skills to attributes and abilities. It offers plenty of combat areas as well as places for undisturbed exploration and extensive maps. And even though it's not an open world and is quite linear, it still has good replay value if you want to test out various combinations of your two main characters or even their interactions with each other. The ending is closed and the conflict fully resolved, so this game can be played alone if you haven't played any of the other Divinity games yet, and it also has no impact on any of them once you finish it, so you don't have to worry about doing something wrong here. As mentioned, you can spend anywhere between 60 and more than 100 hours immersed in the game, and all that for the price of some 40 euros or dollars, either in the Steam or GOG stores. It might feel like a lot for such an older game, but in my opinion you're really getting a lot of value for your money. And as usual, if you rather want to wait for a price decrease during one of the summer or winter sales, then wishlisting the game is always a good idea. The enhanced edition is also proof that Larian listens to the players and the gaming community and uses this feedback to improve their games as best they can. For me, they are the studio to go to when looking for good turn-based games, and the latest success with their Baldur's Gate 3 game from last year only confirms that as a company and a gaming studio, they are evolving in a very positive direction. I hope this review was helpful for you in case you haven't played the game yet and you were wondering whether it's worth it. And in case you have played the game already, then I would be really curious to see what was your preferred class, and if you have maybe tried the co-op as well, or what was your overall impression and what you like the most on the game. Feel free to post comments below in the comment section. I'd be really thankful for any feedback that you can give me, and let's discuss a little bit more this game. Thank you very much for watching, stay tuned and game on!